Good morning. Today I have me Laura Chattington, and we're going to talk about self-promotion at work. Laura, you have some expertise in this area. To take a few moments and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, and thank you. My name is Laura Chattington. I am the lead trainer at activatemycareerlive.com, and we really help people who feel like their careers are plateauing or not progressing fast enough, elevate themselves in the workplace. So, self promotion, which is what we're talking about today, and which enables them to really fast track their career and get themselves to the next level.
I think the audience would like to get the next level. When I talk with people, even people who don't say that's their goal, a lot of them really that's their goal. So why don't we jump right in? Why is self-promotion important for career advancement?
If you don't mind, I wouldn't mind just taking a few minutes just to tell you a bit of story about my background and where I got to and why I do
Sure.
this. I remember being at work on a sort of normal day, and I received this meeting invite from my boss, 2 o'clock afternoon, be in his office kind of thing. And I remember when you're trying to look calm and composed, and inside you feel a bit like an awkward teenager, and your sort of heart's going and your hands are getting
Yeah,
fidel, that
yeah.
kind of
You were
that.
nervous.
And my boss starts talking and he says, "I'm really sorry, but we're going to have to make 20 people redundant, and you're one of them. And I've decided to keep James, who was co-project director to me, because he has contacts in the industry. I'm really sorry, but we're going to you're being made redundant." And I don't know, Vidal, whether you've had that sort of, it doesn't click immediately. And then you realize what that person's just said, and you're confused and you're like, hold on a minute, what's going on? And
What
I remember,
happened?
yeah,
Yeah.
it just takes you a few seconds, doesn't it? And I remember thinking, this isn't in my plan. I've worked really hard to deliver the projects, delivered the work, and I had aspirations to have a successful career, get recognition for the efforts that I put in. And I certainly wasn't intending to be made redundant. And when I look back, I think of that Laura then. I was slogging my guts out, working 24/7, giving up my family time, giving up my time with my friends at the weekend, all those things that we do, just walking away. And I got made redundant. And I remember sitting at my parents' house. It was just before Christmas. God, I don't know if it's the same there, Vidal. In England, you get made
Yeah.
redundant before Christmas because that's where the tax year ends, right?
Boy, that hurts. That
Yeah.
hurts.
And I was at my parents' house, and everyone around me is woo celebrating. And I remember sitting there quite desperate. And I was
Mm,
thinking, why did the senior team choose James over me? Because actually,
mhm.
James, he would turn up at 10 o'clock in the morning. He would do some emails, make a
Mhm.
coffee, take a few phone calls, and then he'd start
Right.
meandering around the office. And he would chat with our boss, he would chat with some of the other senior stakeholders, literally walk around, and he'd come back to his desk, do a few more calls, and head out and do the meeting. You know, that those sort of people. And they get away with, sorry?
No, totally. I guess what I'm saying is that they had a perception of him, right? So many things are about perception. So
Yeah.
clearly had a perception, which I think is where we're going to get to. And I just want to say I've been laid off. Here in the US, we call it layoff,
Yeah.
but I've been laid off and it sucks. So I'm sorry to hear
Yeah.
that. I was kind of
Yeah.
afraid you were going to say that. Those late afternoon surprise meetings with managers usually are not good
Yeah.
things. But
We laugh at it now, but it is not funny. And you know the
no, no.
people who they just seem to get away with not doing as much work, but no one seems to care and no one seems to notice. And I was walking around my parents' garden, and I actually realized James's working day compared with mine. And it dawned on me that actually my perception of him was that he was being lazy, but actually he wasn't being lazy. He was building relationships, interacting with the
Mhm.
people in there, and he had spent time in his day and his working week to be seen by the senior team.
Yes.
And I hadn't. And I
Mhm.
realized that why would the senior managers know what I was doing? Why would they pay attention to me? They wouldn't. And they weren't seeing any of my hard work, but they were seeing James, right? At that point when I realized that, yes, we do need to work hard, but also what you need to do is you need to spend time and effort on building those relationships, on being seen in the company, because they're the people that make the decisions. They're the senior managers, the ones that decide
Yeah.
who goes on the project, who gets made redundant, in my case, in your case. And they weren't paying attention to me at all. Why would they? So there was that sort of slogging professional that I was, delivering on all my projects. And within my project team, everyone knew what I was doing. But actually, I was waiting for the world to come to me, right? I was waiting for everyone to go, "Oh, great job, Laura." But James, he had built it into his working week, and he was developing those relationships. It was part of his strategic plan to make sure that he was visible in the workplace. And what I realized is hard work doesn't get you noticed, it doesn't get you on the
Right.
projects you get on, and it doesn't get you the recognition you deserve. So it was really at that point where I went, hold on a minute, I need to go and work out how to do this, how to be visible, how to be seen. Hence me having this conversation with you now.
Okay, I totally get it. I tell my staff it's important for these people in senior management to know who you are. So you're just not like a little name in a spreadsheet, because when they're going through that spreadsheet one day and who's going to be made redundant, right? They want to see your name and know who you are,
Yeah,
and hopefully have a very positive view of you. So I totally
yeah.
get that,
And I
and
think it's
why.
important. Sorry, go on.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just saying you're absolutely right. It's important to realize that although you're thinking about your job and your work and everything from your perspective, that slogging Laura was like working hard and focused on delivering her work. But the senior managers aren't focused. They weren't focused on her. They didn't even really. She was that line in the
Right.
spreadsheet, and it was that sort of realization.
Yeah, no, correct, correct. And I think another point I make to people, it's not like school. Like in school, you can do really well on an exam and people will grade the exam and there you go. But here you
Yeah,
can do really great on the exam, but if people don't know you're doing well on the exam, you fail the exam.
that's
So,
a really
so,
good
so
analogy. Yeah.
yeah, so you have to do that too. Okay, but I want to talk about why do people. So I tell this to a lot of people. I think you're right on that it's important for people to know your work, especially the more senior you get, and to have a good impression of you. And a lot of people struggle with that. I give them this advice to do it, and they're introverted. They're not comfortable. Why do people struggle with this, in your opinion?
I think you hit the nail on the head there is that, especially for introverts, the idea of going into any kind of interaction and feeling like they have to promote themselves and talk about themselves. I think people are naturally, there are a few people who are very comfortable with it, but naturally we feel uncomfortable and we don't want to go in and feel like showing off or we're being salesy or we're being cheesy. And we can talk about the expertise that we have or a project that we've worked on quite comfortably. But when it comes to talking about ourselves, that's where that resistance and those barriers get put up. And I think there's a number of reasons for that. Number one is you need some tools to be able to do it in a comfortable, tactful, strategic way. And you're not
Okay.
given those tools in the workplace. You don't go in and they go, we know that you need to promote yourself in the workplace. Here's some training, here's some tools to do that. That's generally not what happens. And I think there's another piece in working with people, clients who would identify as being introverts, is there's also a kind of resistance, a deep resistance, is that perhaps they don't feel they're good enough, right? We have this kind of like putting my
Imposter syndrome.
yeah, imposter syndrome. So those two combinations, not having the right tools to be able to put yourself forward and having that imposter syndrome means that people avoid it. You avoid it. And like I was focused on doing my job. That's what I thought I'd been hired to do. So I think
Yeah.
that's some of the challenges people face when it comes to doing this type of thing.
Okay, so then how can people do this the right way? Okay, because like you say, you don't want to come across as salesy, right? You don't want to come across as arrogant, or, but you also you don't want to fail to do it. So, how
Yeah.
did you decide
Well, I think one of the first things I think you have to do is recognize and really decide that you have to do it. There is no getting away from it. I think once you get over you mentioned school, once you're over the sort of 20s, people aren't looking at work for you and going, hey, you're doing a great job. Let me promote you in the company. People aren't doing that. So I think number one is decide that you actually need to do it. And I get my clients to allocate time in their diary because we resist it, that resistance that you get. You resist it.
it?
Actually put time in your diary to think about how you're going to do that. So that's the first thing, is decide that you're going to do it, because it opens the doors to that career progression. I think you have to, secondly, take the opportunities that you have, right? You take the opportunities that you have. So you might be going into senior stakeholder interactions, and you might be thinking that you have to report in an update on a project, or you have to ask for budget, or you have to ask for resource. But actually take reframing those interactions to saying, this is an opportunity to get more visibility with this person in the business. And when I'm in those interactions with that person, I can use that conversation to inform them of some of the things that I'm competent at. And this is where that kind of cheesy, salesy versus tactful thing comes into play. So you're not going to say something like, oh, while we're here, can I just tell you about all the amazing things I can do? Because I really want to be on your radar. But you might say something like, I make this recommendation on this project, and you know what? It's like this other project I worked. The reason why I'm making these recommendations is because I worked on these other projects, and start detailing some of the stuff on the other projects. And that's an indirect way to talk about yourself. And if you fill those examples up with very specific numbers, credibility, people, projects, clients, whatever it is, and you can sort of use it as a reference, what the person you're talking to is going to go, oh, that's interesting, because actually I've got projects like that I need delivering, and they can obviously deliver those types of projects. So really using those senior stakeholder interactions as opportunities to get visible and tell the senior stakeholders the sort of experience that you have and the value you can bring to them. And I think the third sort of key that I would encourage is to again have a plan and identify who are those key stakeholders in your environment that are going to give you the access and the leverage that you need to get to where you want to get to, because you don't have time to build relationships with everybody, but there may be key people in the business that are going to enable your career and help you in your career. So identify them. You can do things like, you know what, Vidal, I wonder if I could ask you your advice on this project. And most people, when you ask advice most human beings, if you ask their advice and you make it efficient, can I just put 10 minutes in your diary so I could ask your advice on this project? They're going to say yes. And if they don't say yes, they're going to say, I don't have time for this. Go and ask that person over there. And again, they will facilitate that relationship. So it's taking a strategic approach to building the relationships that are going to give you that leverage, and taking the opportunities that you have to inform them of the experience and the expertise that you.
Okay, since this is Managers Club, let's say you're a manager and you're managing a project,
Yeah,
right? Like, how would you promote this? For example, I've heard managers say, um, it's a little cynical, but it's fine that your team is executing on a project, okay? But you have to make it clear that they couldn't have done it without you. And that's weird because the manager taking credit for the work of the team in a way. But let's take that example. If you're a manager and your team's working on a project, they're doing a great job.
yeah.
What do you do? Like,
You take
how do you
the
approach
responsibility.
this?
I think
Yeah.
you have to. So the answer is you have to take ownership, right, of the responsibilities that you have on a project. And I think, again, women do this all the time. We did this, we did that, we, the project team. And it's not that you should
Ah,
discredit your project team in any way, But you need to be very specific about what you did, what you were responsible for. And as long as you can do that in a way that is congruent, these are the decisions that I made. This is the way I've led this team. This is how we got these results. But be very clear on the value and the part you have played rather than always defaulting to the team. Because ultimately, if you're managing a team, you're taking that responsibility. If everything goes wrong, your head's on the block, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of getting the credibility, you take the credibility as well that you deserve. So it's again, there's a sort of there's a line between being like, I'm just going to tell everyone I did everything, and everyone's that's not on, to recognizing the value the team has added, but also being very specific about the value that you've added and what you're doing and that you can deliver. I think I've managed lots of projects and people would hire me because they knew I would deliver the project that they want. So thinking about what is the value add that you bring in and taking ownership of that in the way that you talk in a I did this and sort of certainty in the language that you use. I think it's important.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just one of the team, aren't you?
Yeah, I think it's a great point, and it's interesting you mentioned women because I think that is a trap that people can fall into, right? So, like, if a woman is like, "We did this, the team did this, the team did that," some people will think, this only happened because she had a great team. Where if a man were to say that, "We did this, the team did that," they might think he's being very humble. So there's a
Yes.
difference, even like who is saying it, which
Yeah.
you can fall into, right?
And you're right. And actually, it's been last week, International Women's Day, and there's been a
Uh
lot of
huh.
commentary about the progress. And I think one of the things is to recognize there is a difference, right? If you're a woman or if you're a man, there is a difference in how that people might interpret what you say. And on the other side, as a female, people may say, oh, she was really arrogant. She said, but I think,
Yes.
again, you have to find that balance that is comfortable, recognizing what we said at the beginning, which is you have to get visible. You have to be visible to these stakeholders. They're not going to pay any attention to you unless you tell that you inform them, you communicate with them. And you have to recognize the value that you add. And it comes back to this sort of inner resistance of knowing that you are good enough, you add value, and you're communicating that value that you've added to the senior team as opposed to I'm trying to take ownership of everything. And I think women need to do more of it, actually. That's what I think.
Yeah. We were chatting earlier about personal brand. Okay. So a lot of what we've talked about is like highlighting yourself inside the company. Okay. To what extent is this all like inside the company, or to what extent is it trying to highlight or build a personal brand that's outside the company as well?
In fact, I'm working with someone to do exactly this right now, and we were having this discussion last week. Is it depends on where you are, okay, and it depends what your aspirations are. And I think that
Okay.
if you, in a way, I'd be thinking about those key stakeholders. So if you're sitting there thinking, okay, I'm going to add this into my week, I'm going to add this time into my week to help develop relationships and develop my personal brand, then those sort of core stakeholders might be your boss's boss, someone else in the company, in a different project stream or a different stream, and it might be other people in the industry. And I think that having a clear plan to develop those relationships and be seen and comment on social media and be present at seminars and build relationships
Mhm.
externally to your company is, if someone had told me that at the age of 18, spend 2 or 3 hours a week building your network outside of your company and internally to your company, I think life would have been a breeze almost because you build this massive network, don't you? And you don't realize until later on in your life, and you're like, oh, I need to build my brand and build my network. Now, some people hate the idea of the word personal brand, but if you think about it in terms of building relationships, building networks, being known, being visible externally, and the way that you do that, there's lots of different ways to do that. How you apply it internally is how you apply it externally. They're just people outside the company. So I would encourage I think you become the good thing about doing it outside the company, and when you get some momentum, is you become more valuable. You're perceived as more valuable by the company that you're in because you get this more expert status, don't you? And there's more people will value you more internally if you have this personal brand externally as well.
Perhaps. I think it depends. It can depend on the company, but it's certainly interesting. I mean, it's an area that I'm personally very interested in. As
I
you,
think you have,
uh,
sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I think you have to, your point is absolutely right. You have to be careful how you are promoting yourself externally, and it needs to be complement. It's a bit like, again, it's the same principles apply. You have to be complementary to the value you add to your company by building your external brand as well. And I think if you go off and promote yourself without any reference to the company and the work that you do, and your team and everything internally, then it might be perceived as self promotion to want to go and get another job. But actually, it can, as an industry expert, that value can come back to your company. And you might do things like, for instance, I worked at a company where we'd get our peers in to discuss a topic on something, and we'd have breakfast. And that kind of, it's seen as value add to the company that you're in, but it also raises your profile outside of the company at the same time.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but yeah, you have to balance it. Like I actually know people who've gotten in trouble because they spent too much time, like working on these external things on company time. And wait a minute, like you're spending too much time on this. We're actually paying you to do work here, so you have to be careful. Um, okay, we talked about promoting your work. Hey, I delivered this, I did this, and all that. Now, to what extent should you be worried about outshining your direct manager or being threatening to them if you're claiming all this credit and maybe they're talk to me about that.
Yeah. And you're a manager and I'm a manager. And if one of my team went and started telling everyone that they were responsible for everything, I would get upset, right? You'd
Uh-huh.
get
Okay.
upset. And I think you have to, again, I always think you have to look at the world from everyone's different perspectives. And at your manager, you're in a position at work where you are doing part of your manager's role. They have a responsibility for whatever their work stream is. And you being managed by them, you're there to deliver part of that. So walking around and going rogue on any, I'm sure I don't think there's any manager that would back that unless they weren't paying attention. But that doesn't mean that you can't do it, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. So I think again, tactful is the key word here, and it might be that. So first of all, I would say be aware of egos, be aware of relationships,
Mhm.
be aware of reputations that your manager has in the company, and you can go to them and say, I mean, the first thing I would do is I want to develop relationships in the company, and this is what I had intended to do. I just want to check in with you. Are you
Okay.
okay with that? And I
Okay.
think if they say to you, I, from a manager's perspective, if they said to you, "No, don't speak to anyone in the company. I don't want you saying anything outside of that would be a signal to me that hold on a minute, maybe I shouldn't be working for this person." So I think you can ask permission and do it in a way that helps because it's going to help our team, it's going to help our project. By building the relationships wider in the company, I think it's going to help the work that we do. And I just wanted to let you know that this is my intention. Did you have any thoughts? Could you help me? I'd even ask for help because people, when you get asked for help, you sure I'll help you. Again, it's a kind of bit of an ego stroke, isn't it? And if they said, no, don't do it, I would say, I would find other kind of strategic allies in the business who would help me build those networks. And it might be someone on the same level as your manager. And you say to them, I'd really like to get involved in your project, or I'd really like to get involved in this initiative. And they say to your manager, hey, I just want Laura involved in this. That's okay, isn't it? And they're not going to go, no.
Okay. Sounds good. I think it's a good idea. Yeah. Go talk to them first, let them know,
Yeah.
get their advice that this is why you're doing it. Laura, you've been like really generous with your time. It's really great to have you here. In closing, is there any recommendations you have for people? Any place they could learn more about this, or how could they connect with you afterwards? if they wanted to
Sure.
talk with you.
Yeah, and I think that what we've talked about today is, I think number one is for people who aren't comfortable with doing this, make sure that you decide that this is going to really facilitate you going as far as you can in your career, and put that plan in place. And actually, this whole sort of process is part of what we teach in our masterclass. So if you want to find out more about how we do what we do, register for the masterclass. It is at www.activatemycareerlive.com. And that in that masterclass, this is part of that. And we will give you the tools and the system that really enables you to go out there and put yourself forward and take your opportunities. So that's the best way to connect and find out more.
All right, sounds good. I'll put a link to the notes. Again, Laura, it's been great to have you here. Thanks for coming on, and I'll talk with you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was really good to talk with you too. Thank you.